Well, welcome to the 14th Annual Gold Derby TV Awards. This is our winners announcement, and we've given you pretty much all summer to vote for nominations and then vote for winners over the past few weeks. And we like to make our announcement even before the Creative Arts ceremonies this weekend, because that gives you a chance to talk about something else for a few days. And believe me, this is something people really get a kick out of. It's part of their IMDb history. If you go on IMDb for any given show or person, it'll be there for all the different years. And when we see people out at events, receptions, red carpets, parties, even at the Emmys coming up, they are well aware that they were nominated or that they won. Most of them are. And we'll send out certificates tonight. We've got really nice, professionally done certificates that we'll send out to all of their reps and networks tonight. So let's get this thing started. I'm going to go do the first category. We've got quite a few to get through, and the first one is Animated Program. And this year's nominees are Archer, Bob's Burgers, BoJack Horseman, Family Guy, The Simpsons, and South Park. And our winner, Gold Derby TV Award winner this year is once again BoJack Horseman, which is not nominated at the Emmy Awards.
It's nominated for its voiceover by I think Kristen Schaal, but yeah, it's not nominated for Best Animated Program. This was a pretty decisive victory over the rest of the field. It finished more than twice as many votes as The Simpsons in second place.
We'll try to give you vote information and other stuff. There really there weren't many categories that were really close, 5 or 6. Everything else was. The winner we give you was pretty much a blowout. So let's move on to Marcus, who's got reality.
Yes, I have the 2 reality categories. Let's start with reality host, and the nominees are Alec Baldwin for Match Game, RuPaul Charles for RuPaul's Drag Race, Heidi Klum and Tim Gunn for Project Runway, Ellen Page and Ian Daniel for Gaycation with Ellen Page, Jeff Probst, my man, for Survivor, and Martha Stewart and Snoop Dogg for Martha and Snoop's Potluck Dinner Party. And the Gold Derby TV Award goes to RuPaul Charles. The surprise Emmy winner last year has now won a Gold Derby Award. And then I'm going to move on to reality competition program. The nominees are The Amazing Race, American Ninja Warrior, America's Got Talent, RuPaul's Drag Race, Survivor, and The Voice. And the Gold Derby winner is RuPaul's Drag Race. 2 for RuPaul's Drag Race.
And that win last year in reality host at the Emmys really propelled that show. It's not often you see a show pick up so many nominations late in a run, like for the first time. And this year's Emmys, way more nominations than what they were typically getting, including this program category.
Yeah, the show has had, I think, over the course of its run until last year, it had maybe 3 Emmy nominations, and this year alone it got 8. And it showed up in categories it's never been before.
Their regular series and can't think of the title of the other one, but
Untucked, I think it is, for unstructured reality show, which I think barely counts as a separate show. I count it together. It's sort of like when I think of like Variety, I think of, you know, Full Frontal as having 7 nominations because the correspondence dinner is quite similar. But yeah, these were blowouts in both cases. This was not a close race. The interesting thing, though, is that second place for reality host was a tie between Jeff Probst and Martha Stewart and Snoop Dogg, which is why I love America. So that tickled me.
Maybe all of these people need to be on Survivor. That would be really good.
Oh, can you imagine?
Oh, that would be amazing. I would watch that.
That would be amazing.
I would even watch that, and I don't watch reality.
I wonder what's going to happen at the Emmys, because you know reality competition is always The Amazing Race or The Voice, and I could really see RuPaul's Drag Race winning this year. It's a show on the rise, and it has so much buzz.
I agree.
And moving on to the variety categories, the nominees for Best Variety Sketch Series are Billy on the Street, Documentary Now, Drunk History, Portlandia, Saturday Night Live, and The Tracy Ullman Show. And the Gold Derby TV Award for Best Variety Sketch Series goes to Saturday Night Live.
This was the exact same lineup as the Emmys, which I think was we talked about this on the nominations, the only category that we line up exactly with the Emmys.
Yeah, and it's interesting because we usually have consolidated sketches and talk shows even after the last couple of years when they split them at the Emmys. This was our first year splitting them. So interesting. It's interesting to see what would have happened if they were combined. But this year for Best Variety Talk Series, we've got the nominees Full Frontal with Samantha Bee, Jimmy Kimmel Live, Last Week Tonight with John Oliver, The Late Late Show with James Corden, The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, and The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon. And the winner is, for the second year in a row, Last Week Tonight with John Oliver. Last year, of course, he won the combined category. So I wonder what would happen in a head-to-head with SNL. SNL completely blew out the competition for, but this was closer between John Oliver and Samantha Bee.
I wonder if maybe, like what you just said, Samantha Bee and John Oliver kind of split the vote a little bit, and Saturday Night Live was such a dominant force. I wonder if SNL would have won. I'm glad we split them up, though.
I honestly think SNL probably would have been strong enough to win this year in a combined race. But it's hard to say. It's kind of apples and oranges, which is why the Emmys split them. So
I'm glad we did too. Well, let's move on. We've got the movie and limited series categories. I'm going to start out with the two supporting races. Supporting actor, Alfred Molina for Feud, Adam Scott for Big Little Lies, who we saw at an event maybe a month ago, and he was so happy he was nominated at the Gold Derby Awards. By the way, for those that voted for him. Alexander Skarsgård, Big Little Lies. Michael Stuhlbarg for Fargo. David Thewlis for Fargo. And Stanley Tucci for Feud. And our Gold Derby TV Award winner is Alexander Skarsgård. His fans came out in force with us. And I don't know how that'll translate at the Emmys, where he's up against a lot of these same really, character actor film kind of people. So it's going to be interesting to see how that compares for the actual Emmy Awards. And supporting actress, we've got Judy Davis for Feud, Laura Dern, Big Little Lies, Jackie Hoffman for Feud, Gugu Mbatha Raw, Black Mirror, Mary Elizabeth Winstead for Fargo, and Shailene Woodley for Big Little Lies. And our winner this year for 2017 is Laura Dern, Big Little Lies.
And this is interesting because one of the things that's interesting about these awards is that now the Emmys sort of do things the way we do it. This is a plurality vote, and so are the Emmys. So basically you pick one winner and that's your choice. And so one of the theories that we've had operating potentially in some categories is vote splitting. And Shailene Woodley did take some votes away from Laura Dern, but not nearly enough. Though interesting, Mary Elizabeth Winstead was in second place. She came closer than maybe she might have had Laura Dern not had a co-star in this race.
And then for the supporting actor one, you really had three pairs there. I mean, there was no chance but to vote. So
there had to be vote splitting.
Yeah, there was going to be a vote splitting.
Right.
And what's interesting is potentially you have the two Feud men were sandwiched in between. Two Big Little Lies and Fargo, Big Little Lies and Fargo in terms of the vote totals, and Feud 3 and 4. So that could be a kind of significant thing to note. But yeah, Alexander Skarsgård was by far the choice of Big Little Lies fans in this case.
Okay, let's move on to movie miniseries actor and actress. Actor first, we have Riz Ahmed for The Night Of, Benedict Cumberbatch for Sherlock, The Lying Detective, Robert De Niro for The Wizard of Lies, Jude Law for The Young Pope, Ewan McGregor for Fargo, and John Turturro for The Night Of. And once again, vote splitting did not matter in this race. Riz Ahmed wins. He takes down his co-star John Turturro and the other guys as well.
I'm really wondering about my pick at the Emmys. I've had Jeffrey Rush in first most of the way, who's not nominated here, so he had no shot here. But I don't know. Riz Ahmed is so on an upward swing, just in recognition within the industry, that could possibly be that could happen. I could see that at the Emmys.
Yeah, I feel like we're seeing kind of an old guard versus the new guard kind of thing. Last year, I was predicting in a different category. I was predicting Kevin Spacey to win drama actor. He felt more like an Emmys kind of guy, and they gave it to Rami Malek, who I personally would have probably chosen, but I didn't think the Emmys would go for him over Kevin Spacey. And I'm thinking maybe Riz Ahmed here too. I also have Jeffrey Rush in my predictions, so it's the changing Emmy systems and demographics are so tricky.
Yeah, that's one of the harder races for me. And the movie mini actress is probably the one that gets the most buzz online. People just love talking about this race. And our 6 nominees are Carrie Coon for Fargo, Bryce Dallas Howard for Black Mirror Nosedive, Jessica Lange for Feud, Nicole Kidman, Big Little Lies, Susan Sarandon, Feud, and Reese Witherspoon, Big Little Lies. And this will make a lot of people happy and a lot of people not happy, but the winner is Nicole Kidman, Big Little Lies.
And it wasn't even close. That shocked me.
That's
more than anything. I was surprised it wasn't even close. And here was another potential where you had vote splitting: 2 Big Little Lies actresses, 2 Feud actresses. There's been some speculating. Could that help Carrie Coon at the Emmys? It didn't help her here. She's in 3rd place behind Kidman and Lang in the vote totals. But the Kidman blew this out. She has almost double Jessica Lange's votes. And
wow.
At Gold Derby of all places, where we are home to the Jessica Lange place of worship, I think, and she couldn't get within closer than that, which surprised me.
And that's 3 for Big Little Lies, because Alexander won and Laura Dern won, and now Nicole.
And that brings us to the 2 top long-form categories, limited series and TV movie. Let's start with Best TV Movie. The nominees are Black Mirror, San Junipero, The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks, Looking, the movie, Sherlock, The Lying Detective, and The Wizard of Lies. And I feel like I want to open the wrong envelope and say it was Looking, but it wasn't. It was Black Mirror, San Junipero, by quite a margin. More on that in a bit. But before we talk about some totals, let's go to Best Limited Series, where the nominees are American Horror Story, Roanoke, Big Little Lies, Fargo, Feud, Betty and Joan, and The Night Of. And the Gold Derby Award goes to Big Little Lies. No surprise there, given how it's done in the rest of these categories.
We've been watching these votes come in for weeks, just internally, just kind of discussing amongst ourselves. And it's one reason, because we have the exact same system now as the Emmys, a plurality, you just pick one thing, you don't rank. The sheer enormity of Big Little Lies in every category we've discussed just now made me ultimately go with that in several of the same races at the Emmys. I think Feud and Jessica Lange and Ryan Murphy and everybody involved are such Gold Derby, they always get votes, from our people, that the fact that this wasn't even close in these races made me feel like Emmy voters would be similar. Maybe I'm wrong, but it just makes me feel that way.
Yeah, I have a feeling you're right about that. I feel like, Feud has more Emmy nominations, but Big Little Lies has more Emmy nominations than you'd think it would get, especially in technical categories, since it's contemporary, it's set in present day, it doesn't have the kind of production values that usually get a lot of attention, and it's still overperformed basically across the board. So it was a blowout in that category. TV movie, I just wanted to note that Black Mirror had about more votes than the rest of the field combined, but I am very proud of Looking, a very strong 3rd place, 2 points behind Sherlock in 2nd place. So just, everybody representing for Looking. Thank you very much.
And I just want to point out, Riley Chow wrote a really great item. It's on Gold Derby right now about all of the past limited series winners and how Big Little Lies has key nominations that determine a win, and Feud does not have those, such as picture editing. And I'm looking now, no sound mixing, no cinematography. So
let me say one thing to Riley, if he ever watches this, and he will, because he watches everything. I was telling somebody prominent earlier today, they were asking me a couple of questions, and I just said, I'm as big of a trend statistic person as you've ever seen on Gold Derby. I don't know them by heart like he does. I don't know that we can go by that anymore. It's a whole new voting system. I don't necessarily look at, editing nominations, casting nominations. It doesn't matter to me as much anymore. It's all about passion. It's all about number one votes. And that's why I'm predicting This Is Us, and I'm way out on a limb, in drama series, but I just want to say that to the people that are continually using statistics from the last decade or 2 decades or whatever. I don't think they matter nearly as much anymore.
One statistical trend that I'm going to be looking for this weekend at Creative Arts, and I'm going to change predictions accordingly depending on how they go, is the last 2 years. So it's a short statistical trend, but it was under the old system in 2015 and under the new system. Whichever way best casting goes, that's where I'm going for program.
Well, I think within a given year, you can look and go, this is the way the wind is blowing. So like, on the casting thing, I agree. I may make a swap if something other than This Is Us wins casting. But I think to look back 3 years, 5 years, 10 years and use those statistics, we don't have the same system anymore. The same goes for Oscars. We don't have the same system. We have the same system at the Oscars. We don't have the same voters. They've turned over by a third. So we can't necessarily look at the past nearly as much. Anyway, moving on. I've got comedy guest categories, and we'll start with comedy guest actor. Riz Ahmed for Girls, Dave Chappelle for SNL, Tom Hanks for SNL, Hugh Laurie for Veep, Peter McNichol for Veep, and Matthew Rhys for Girls. So 2, and 2 again. And our winner is, maybe for the first time here at the Gold Derby Awards, other than producing, is Tom Hanks for SNL.
That's a good choice. And he will be at the Creative Arts. So
yeah,
maybe we'll get to see him on the red carpet. That'll be nice.
That would be really cool. Comedy guest, and by the way, that race was really close. That was one we were watching all the way to the wire. It was the 2 really that I think would win at the Emmys, Tom Hanks and Hugh Laurie. As I recall, Daniel, you've got the numbers in front of you, but it was really, really tight all the way to the end.
Yeah, it was a 14-vote finish for Tom Hanks, and we had closer, so we'll get to those.
We've got a couple that'll really shock you. Comedy guest actress Becky Ann Baker for Girls, Angela Bassett, Master of None, Carrie Fisher, Catastrophe, Melissa McCarthy for SNL. Oh, sorry, guys. Sorry, I normally turn that off. Maya Rudolph for Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. That was my vote, by the way.
Mine too.
Sally Phillips for Veep. And the winner here, I think it was a blowout, Melissa McCarthy for SNL.
This is one of the performances of the decade. I'm just going to say that right there.
Yeah, it wasn't an SNL type blowout, and it wasn't even quite a Big Little Lies type blowout. But yeah, this was a very comfortable victory. She had more than 100 votes advantage against second place Carrie Fisher, and then Angela Bassett, a respectable third place, all got over 100 votes. Like comedy guest actor was really close, 14 votes first and second, and then Dave Chappelle was in third, so that wasn't that far off.
But again, the vote split. Well, we had to have vote splitting happen. We had to overcome the vote splitting here because it was 3 shows sharing 6 nominations. What are both of you thinking right now on that race for the weekend?
Well, I have Melissa McCarthy
I don't know.
Guest actress, but guest actor, I think I have. Well, I know I have Hugh Laurie, but I don't know how long I'll have him. I may switch him in the next couple of days.
You think it's those 2, just like we had here?
I think it's Hanks and Laurie, yeah.
It's a little, this is one of those situations where it's a slightly different circumstance. It sort of reminds me of Bob Newhart. When he won the Emmy, I remember that year. It's like, well, if you're going by the episodes, and I think that year he was up against Timberlake, who had won twice. I'm like, well, this is the Timberlake episode was the kind that should have won. But the fact that everyone knew, thanks in part to Chris, your one-man campaign to let everyone know Bob Newhart hasn't won an Emmy yet, give him an Emmy. He won, and I feel like we've already awarded Hugh Laurie before for House, I'm pretty sure. So we didn't owe him. So it doesn't surprise me that he didn't win here. But the Emmys owe him, and if they know that, that might be enough to push him.
If they know that, I tried so hard the last few weeks to get him to come on and do a chat with us, because I think that could have, honestly, I'm not kidding here. I think it could have pushed him over the top. Just talking about, past Emmys and not winning, but winning at the Globes and winning at SAG, and anyway, I thought that would have helped just get that message out there. I don't think voters realize.
And speaking of could have pushed him over the top, we have this was a 14-point race, as I mentioned, and this webcast has 49 viewers at the moment. So if he did a webcast with us, he could have gotten those 49 extra votes to push him over the top, metaphorically speaking. I assume larger scales if we did a chat with Hugh Laurie. More people are interested in watching him than us.
He's done them in the past. It just didn't work out this time. So no fault on him. It just I think I told Marcus that way back at the beginning of the summer. I just said if he really is going to campaign for this and let people know that, then maybe he's got a better shot, because the voters don't keep up with those sorts of things.
Right, and it's kind of a perfect storm for him. He's not up at the Emmys against anyone from Veep, and there are 3 SNL guys that could split the vote. So now is his year. If he can't win this year, he's never going to.
He's the only one that doesn't have another co-star competitor. So that's one reason I've got him picked. But I may switch to Hanks. I don't know. I kind of don't want him to win if he's not going to be there. And everything we've heard is he's probably not. So.
Well, let's go to the supporting actor and actress in a comedy series. Starting with comedy supporting actor, we have Louis Anderson for Baskets, Alec Baldwin for Saturday Night Live, Titus Burgess, Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, Tony Hale for Veep, Brian Tyree Henry for Atlanta, and Timothy Simons for Veep. And the Gold Derby Award is Titus Burgess, Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt.
3 straight years. He's never lost.
and that ties the record. Neil Patrick Harris won this award 3 years in a row for How I Met Your Mother, I believe 2007 and 2009. So they both have the most wins, and they both have the most consecutive wins in this particular category.
He's another one that's well aware of his Gold Derby Awards, and we always talk about it. And when we do our tweets later today, tagging people with their wins and stuff, he'll tweet back. He'll thank us, and he'll be very, very proud of that.
And then comedy supporting actress, we have Anna Klumsky for Veep, Olivia Colman for Fleabag, Jane Krakowski, Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, Judith Light, Transparent, Kate McKinnon for Saturday Night Live, and Rita Moreno, One Day at a Time. And Gold Derby's choice is Kate McKinnon, Saturday Night Live. Good pick.
And neither of these races were particularly close. Burgess was it was within 70 votes, Burgess's win. Over Alec Baldwin was in second place. Those were the only 2 really in it for comedy supporting actor. But yeah, perhaps surprisingly, given how much buzz Baldwin has had this past year, that he wasn't really close to taking down Burgess. And Kate McKinnon was even farther ahead. She had more than twice as many votes as second place, which was Judith Light.
Okay.
I wonder what's going to happen at the Emmys. I mean, my heart wants Titus to win, but my head is saying Alec Baldwin will win.
Yeah, I've got Alec there to be safe, but it's not. I mean, he's won twice before, but he's not an Emmy darling in the sense that he's been nominated a lot of times and he's lost most of the time. So it's not like he's the kind of name they keep checking off over and over again.
I may switch to him because when he really had his 30 Rock run, it wasn't under this system. And remember, he won 7 or so in a row at SAG, which was sort of this system. Certainly a much more popular vote when he was at the Emmys. That was when you could only vote in 2 or 3 categories. So a race was being decided by 75, 80 people. It's much more of a SAG massive number of people voting kind of a situation now. So I think he would have won. I say all that to say I think he would have won more often at the Emmys under this new system. But I'm like Marcus. I would love to see Titus because it just, I don't know how long that show is going to sustain this kind of success at the Emmys.
Yeah. And you just know if Titus won, that would be the highlight acceptance speech of the night. I would want to see him win just for that. Moving on to the leading races, comedy actor and actress, starting with Best Comedy Actor. The nominees are Anthony Anderson for Blackish, Aziz Ansari for Master of None, Ted Danson for The Good Place, Donald Glover for Atlanta, the aforementioned Neil Patrick Harris for A Series of Unfortunate Events, and Jeffrey Tambor, Transparent. And the Gold Derby Award goes to Donald Glover for Atlanta.
And
Best Comedy Actress.
Him at the Emmys.
Yeah, I am too, kind of by default. I'm not.
I said a lot of people. I didn't say me.
I feel like switching in that category just because I feel like I'm not confident because, you know, writer, directors, actors, they don't usually win the acting category. But again, old rules, it's hard to apply them to this year. But yeah, that'll be interesting. This was not a close race, but
I have to add one little thing before you do actress. Because I think the people watching this video are probably 99% people that voted in this, so it's good to hear little stories. We saw Daniel and I saw Jeffrey Tambor last year at the BAFTA Tea Party, which is the Saturday before the Emmys, and he walks by me, or walks by the two of us, and I've never met him before that I recall, and he stops. I don't know if you remember this, Daniel. He turns around like he recognizes us. He puts his arm on my shoulder and he goes, "Thank you for all the support. And thank you for that Gold Derby award last week."
No, I remember what happened was I think I was getting us both another drink or something like that. And then I came back over and you told me,
you were with me most of the time, but yeah. Okay.
But I actually did meet him later on.
Okay.
You know, he was waiting for valet.
Well, he was one that I don't think he watched this video last year, but I think, you know, we do go in and tag all these people and send Twitter out, you know, with their names attached, and congrats, Jeffrey Tambor, on your goal. So he was not one of those that just lets somebody run his Twitter account. Apparently he was well aware. So anyway, just for all of you to know, people do pay attention. Not everybody, but I mean, I don't know that Donald Glover cares, but Jeffrey Tambor cared last year. Let me put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
So for Best Comedy Actress, we've got an interesting lineup, quite different in a few ways from the Emmy lineup. The nominees are Rachel Bloom, Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, Ellie Kemper, Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, Veep, Issa Rae, Insecure, Tracy Ellis Ross for Blackish, and Phoebe Waller-Bridge for Fleabag. And the Gold Derby Award goes to Julia Louis-Dreyfus. There's not really a lot of suspense there.
I'm surprised our people went with her. I voted for her as well, so I'm in this group. But usually, you know, after someone's won so many Emmys, people start complaining and they want new blood. And this was our chance to give new blood, and we chose to pick Julia still.
Well, here's what happened here, and we're talking about another theory that might be borne out by these results. I know, you know, Chris, you often say when a front runner is gonna, you know, for a front runner to lose, there needs to be one other obvious choice, one alternative, the Crash to the Brokeback Mountain kind of thing, the Moonlight to the La La Land. In this case, Louis-Dreyfus she was far ahead of second place. But second place and fifth place were separated by 14 votes.
So all of the support splintered off to four other people.
Yeah, and Rachel Bloom was in second, and then, you know, Kemper, Waller-Bridge, Ellis Ross all had significant support. So even Issa Rae had a significant amount of support. So there was no one person to rally around.
Well, that's what's going to help Julia next week. To me, I mean, I think there are people that wouldn't mind, you know, seeing somebody new after this many years. But every time I see a discussion on one of our Slugfest or on in our forums, everybody is splintered into who they would pick if it wasn't Julia, and so that's gonna enormously help her.
It's very interesting.
Yeah, and Comedy Actor wasn't close either. What surprised me though, Donald Glover was in first, but Aziz Ansari was actually in second place. Tambor, who won the last 2 years from us, he was in third. So that's it. That was an interesting result. I was not expecting Aziz Ansari to have such a strong showing in this category.
Mm-hmm. Well, comedy episode is next. This award goes to the writer and director for the episode. We don't split that off. It's just comedy episode. So the nominees are Ban from Atlanta, Lemons from Blackish, New York, I Love You from Master of None, Thanksgiving from Master of None, Kimmy's Roommate Lemonades from Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, and Groundbreaking from Veep. And once again, the vote splitting theory is wrong with us, at least, because the only show that had multiple nominations is the winner, and that's Thanksgiving, written by Aziz Ansari and Lena Waithe for Master of None.
I'm very surprised Lemonade didn't win for Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. I loved Thanksgiving. I think that's the best episode ever of Master of None. But I think the Lemonade one really went viral. And I'm a little surprised.
What was the second place, Daniel?
And actually, that's interesting because while vote splitting didn't decide this, it did come close. The second place was Ban by Atlanta, which finished 6 votes shy of winning. Wow. And then if you look farther down, New York, I Love You, the other Master of None episode, got 58 votes. So if it had siphoned off just a little bit more support from Thanksgiving, it would have factored in. But in this case, it didn't quite. But it could have. It could have.
Well, comedy series was Daniel will tell you the numbers, but it was an unbelievably close race, decided by just a couple of people. A couple of people changed their picks. that would have changed our result. And our 7 nominees are Atlanta, Blackish, Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, Fleabag, Master of None, Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, and the winner for a second year in a row is Veep.
How many votes, Daniel? 2 votes.
2.
Wow.
2 votes.
Well, I voted for Veep, so I'm one of those.
Another thing that's interesting is that in the especially close races, because I know, another thing with the plurality vote we talk about is how, with like 7 nominees in a comedy series category, you could theoretically win with fewer than 20% of the vote. So you don't need that much support. You just need a core of passionate support. We didn't have any race that the winner had less than 20% of the vote, but this one came the closest. Veep, when you count up all the total votes in this category, it won with 21.6% of the vote in this category was its victory.
Wow.
And if 3 million illegals hadn't have voted, then it would have been Atlanta.
So really, it's only one person, really. If a Veep person had switched to Atlanta,
it would have been tied.
Would have taken one away from Veep, given Atlanta, we would have had a tie. Which we had a tie last year with, was it Fargo and OJ?
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So we've had them before. Spoiler alert, there are none this year, no ties. But anyway, that gives you something to talk about in terms of how really tight. Maybe it's tighter than we thought at the Emmys next week.
And now at the Emmys, there could be ties too, because without ranking,
there can be, but it's thousands of people voting, so it would have to be an exact tie. It's not a percentage.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's move on to the drama races, starting with drama guest actress and drama guest actor. For actor, the nominees are Jermaine Clement for Legion, Brian Tyree Henry for This Is Us, Gerald McCraney for This Is Us, Ben Mendelsohn for Bloodline, Dennis O'Hare for This Is Us, and BD Wong for Mr. Robot. And the Gold Derby TV Award goes to Gerald McCraney, one of the nicest guys in Hollywood. I'm so happy for him.
I can't wait to send that email in a little while with his certificate, because we know his rep, and he'll be happy. He recognized Marcus and me on the at a performer reception recently, and was very thankful for all that Gold Derby has done. We've talked about him a lot.
Yeah, this is his first Emmy nomination, let alone his first win, possibly. And at the Creative Arts, but he's never gotten nominated before.
Yeah.
Okay, drama guest actress. Gillian Anderson is nominated for American Gods. Alexis Bledel for The Handmaid's Tale. Laverne Cox for Orange is the New Black. Ann Dowd for The Leftovers. Carrie Preston for The Good Fight. And Allison Wright for The Americans. And the Gold Derby TV Award goes to Alexis Bledel, The Handmaid's Tale.
Neither of these races was close, but a drama guest actress was especially gigantic. Alexis Bledel's lead in this category. And it's interesting because, you know, while we complain a lot, Gilmore Girls stars never get nominated, all the Gilmore Girls stars have won. Lauren Graham won with us. Kelly Bishop won with us. This is Alexis Bledel's second win. She actually won this category a few years ago for Mad Men. And Melissa McCarthy won earlier this evening. So you know, we do justice to Gilmore Girls, even if the Emmys don't.
Which is why, you know, a lot of these I kind of look at them and go, you know, same system as the Emmys now. But I don't know if Alexis, I mean, I've got her predicted this weekend, but is she a Gold Derby thing? Or is it an Emmy thing too? I don't know. I mean, she's one of those, like we talked about Jessica Lange earlier, who just has lots of supporters on the website. So I don't know if this weekend might be a Laverne Cox or an Ann Dowd or somebody else. Just because
I have Allison Wright.
It could be.
Kind of fits. She fits the Margot Martindale situation where it's a long running character, and she didn't have a lot to do this season, and that's how Margot won the past 2 years. By being just someone that they love off screen and on screen.
Yeah, there's so many. It's going to be we won't see the results, but I imagine that's a very close race this weekend.
Yeah.
Okay, moving into the supporting categories. For drama supporting actress or drama supporting actor, we'll start with. The nominees are Christopher Eccleston for The Leftovers. David Harbour for Stranger Things, Ron Cephas Jones for This Is Us, John Lithgow for The Crown, Michael McKean for Better Call Saul, and Jeffrey Wright for Westworld. And the award goes to John Lithgow for The Crown.
How close was that one?
Not.
Okay.
He had more than second and third place combined. Second was actually Michael McKean, and third Ron Cephas Jones, but he had more than both of them combined.
I'm more confident about the Emmys after hearing that.
Well, I think you're right. I think we could all be wrong on every single category because there's a lot of interesting people nominated. But I think on some you just kind of let it go and just say, if John Lithgow doesn't win, I mean, what's he got going against him? I mean, he's in a Best Drama Series nominee. He's won a ton of Emmys already. He's a film star. He's that veteran. He's playing a real character. I mean, what? He's got the episode submission too. So I mean, how could he not win? And if he doesn't, it's just like, well, how could I have not picked him? I mean, what was, you know, anyway.
Yeah, that's the kind of winner.
Some you just have to let go and say, you know, I don't know what to do if he doesn't. So
yeah, that's the kind of winner. You check the box and you just kind of, if he's wrong, then there's no way you could have like thought to predict. I mean, I guess I would say Ron Cephas Jones has an outside chance and that kind of thing, but like really there's nothing in my mind that would make me regret predicting John Lithgow based on what we know, even if he ends up not winning.
I think the only person that could beat him would be Kit Harington. If Game of Thrones season 7 aired, you know, in the eligibility, Kit Harington could beat him. He was so good. But
only if he didn't have maybe other nominees.
He needs to lose Peter Dinklage, though.
Yeah,
we saw that last year.
And Emmy voters the Emmy voters love Game of Thrones. The actors branch really has proven that they don't.
Jeffrey Wright is the interesting one for me for 2 weekends from now. He's basically John Lithgow in terms of type of career. I mean, you know, stage, film, TV, you know, veteran, past Emmy winner, Best Drama Series nominee. And he, you know, spoiler alert, he's playing more than one person. So anyway, by the way, somebody put in the YouTube comments the other day about one of our discussions, you know, spoiler alert, I haven't watched that yet. It was about Westworld. I want to put a comment like, you know, you got about a week. You know, that you can't be saying spoiler alert 8 months later.
And
Right.
it's something that's so easily avoidable too, because, you know, even if you haven't seen Westworld, if you know we're talking about something Westworld related 8 months later, then you can like avoid watching it.
No, I don't. That's on you. You got to like things fast now, especially spoilery kind of shows. So don't put that on us. That's on you.
Especially with shows being so readily available, unlike they were 10 years ago. I mean, you can watch anything online now.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Best Drama Supporting Actress, our nominees are Millie Bobby Brown for Stranger Things, Vera Farmiga for Bates Motel, Chrissy Metz for This Is Us, Tandy Newton for Westworld, Aubrey Plaza for Legion, and Winona Ryder for Stranger Things. Now, maybe this was a vote-splitting situation, but we have the winner is Tandy Newton. Actually, no, I just did the math in my head. Millie and Winona comes just shy, even if you put them together.
Interesting.
Okay.
I'm very happy to see Tandy win because I feel like she deserves to win the Emmy, but I don't think she will. I think she gives the best performance of the whole group. I think there's people with more buzz than her that may win.
That's sort of like Lithgow to me, in the sense of I've been predicting her since the nominations, especially after Westworld overperformed in the acting categories in particular. And I know that's not a lot because this category has like 5 new nominees and 1 returning nominee who wasn't even in last year. So it could go any direction. But like, I just put her in number 1, and I don't see any reason to move her. So I might be wrong, but you know, that's the case with literally every category under the new system.
Yeah, we could be wrong across the board.
Most of them are that way, and not the John Lithgow way, where you just go, you throw up your hands. Okay, drama. The 2 lead categories for drama actor, we've got Sterling K. Brown, This Is Us, Rami Malek for Mr. Robot, Bob Odenkirk, Better Call Saul, Matthew Rhys, The Americans, Kevin Spacey, House of Cards, and Justin Theroux, The Leftovers. And our winner, a second-time winner, is Sterling K. Brown for his new show, This Is Us.
So cool. Sterling will probably retweet this. He's a big supporter of ours, and his rep.
He's another one that appreciates this kind of an award.
Yeah. And of course, last year was his first win. He won for People vs. O.J. Simpson for Best Movie Mini Supporting Actor, and he won the Emmy there as well. So perhaps we are a good luck charm again for him. And if we are, then he should thank us in his speech.
Well, I've had him in first a long time. I think he's winning next week too.
I'm probably moving him in there too. I was a little surprised that Justin Theroux wasn't closer, because if I remember correctly in the nomination phase, Justin Theroux was much more dominant in that category, and he finished second and not that far off. It was about a 40-point margin. But yeah, I was surprised that Theroux didn't take this, given the leftovers support at Gold Derby.
Right. Well, speaking of leftovers, Carrie Coon leads off our drama actress list, along with Claire Foy for The Crown, Elizabeth Moss, The Handmaid's Tale, Kerry Russell, The Americans, Evan Rachel Wood for Westworld, and Robin Wright for House of Cards. And I think this person's going to win next week as well. That's another no-brainer in my book. Elizabeth Moss, Handmaid's Tale is our winner for the Gold Derby Awards. And let me just say to everybody, Marcus and I left a meeting like in March, and we're telling everybody, look out for The Handmaid's Tale. And all I read online in our forums was, you're crazy. Hulu can't do that. They've never done that. Well, everybody hasn't done it till they do it. So we were telling you in March, look out for The Handmaid's Tale, and it got far more Emmy nominations than people were expecting. And now has a pretty clear front runner here.
Yeah. Overperformed in the acting branch, overperformed in other branches, 13 total nominations, Hulu's first nomination for Best Drama Series. Elizabeth Moss is due at the Emmys. She wasn't even due here. We've awarded her for Top of the Lake. We awarded her in the supporting category one year for Mad Men. So this is her 3rd win here. So it wasn't even that she was overdue. This was a blowout. This slam dunk for Elizabeth Moss in this category.
She may be the best actress, at least according to me, since Gillian Anderson on The X-Files. She's so good. She's perfect for this role, and that finale episode is just a wonder to watch. It's incredible. Is it my turn
Marcus, yeah, you're up.
All right, let's do drama episode. And again, this is the writer and the director combined. We have Better Call Saul for Chicanery, The Leftovers for The Book of Nora, Stranger Things for Chapter 7, The Bathtub, Stranger Things for Chapter 8, The Upside Down, This Is Us for the pilot, and Westworld, The Bicameral Mind, which I think was the finale. And the Gold Derby Award goes to The Leftovers, The Book of Nora. And isn't this something like Damon Lindelof's 100th Gold Derby TV award, Daniel? He wins every year.
Well, I don't know. I don't know about all of them because he was also a producer of Lost, and Lost won Best Drama Series a few times. But yeah, it's interesting. Lost holds the record, and I don't think it'll ever be matched. It won Best Episode, Drama Episode 5 times, and I believe Lindelof was involved as a writer on each and every one of them. He's now won twice for The Leftovers as a writer. He's won 7 times.
Wow.
And what's interesting is that for the second year in a row, he is helped by vote splitting. Last year, there were 2 Game of Thrones episodes that were fairly evenly divided in terms of support, and International Assassin was able to win there. And this time, the Stranger Things episodes weren't close together, but if you add them up, they would sneak past The Leftovers in this category. So
the moral of the story is sometimes vote splitting matters, sometimes it doesn't. So it's up to you to figure out at the Emmys where it will factor in and where it won't.
You're welcome for the insight.
And I should mention the co-writers were Tom Perrotta and Tom Spezialy, and the director was Mimi Leder.
And this is the Leftovers' only win so far. We've got a couple more categories where they're nominated, but their only win so far, which is surprising. It is so popular on Gold Derby.
Okay, let's do Best Drama Series. This is a big one. The nominees are The Crown, The Handmaid's Tale, The Leftovers, Orange is the New Black, Stranger Things, This Is Us, and Westworld. And I guess this is a surprise, but maybe not, because any of these shows could have won. But the winner is Stranger Things.
Daniel, you and I watched that one for weeks. That was so close, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was it wasn't quite comedy series close. It was twice as big a blowout as comedy series. It was decided by 4 votes between that and The Leftovers. And I'm actually kind of wondering, people who are watching this, who are The Leftovers fans, who have been throwing up their hands as, The Leftovers hasn't won anything except for drama episode. I wonder what they were thinking was going to win this if it wasn't The Leftovers. And this is the only win for Stranger Things so far. So I wonder if they were even thinking that was going to happen, or if they were going to think, oh, it's going to be This Is Us, or oh, it's going to be The Handmaid's Tale. Handmaid's Tale was actually in 3rd, and This Is Us was in 4th. But yeah, this was 4 votes. Stranger Things versus The Leftovers.
Isn't that crazy that our 2 big series races came down to 2 votes and 4 votes?
Yeah, and in terms of the percentages, when I did the math, Stranger Things won this category with a total of 22.6% of the vote. So it very little support in terms of a proportion of the entire voting body.
Well, and remember, we're not. I mean, the Golden Globes is 80-something voters, so I mean, we don't see their internal results, but I'm sure a lot of categories are decided by a vote, 2 votes, 3 votes. I mean, just the sheer, small group that they are. This is close to 1,000 voters. So when you talk about 2 votes and 4 votes and 14 votes or whatever it was on a couple of others, I mean, that's remarkable with this many people voting.
What do you guys think will happen at the Emmys? I know we're running out of time, but I have Stranger Things winning currently.
I might switch over to it. I think what Daniel said earlier is probably going to happen with me. Whatever the 5 new shows that are nominated for drama series at the Emmys, which I think all 5 are nominated here. They are the 5 casting nominees at the Emmys. Whichever one of those wins, I'm probably switching over to that. Unless it's The Crown. I might, even if it's Westworld, I might switch over because I think there's a passion there that I wasn't expecting. It might be the overall leader coming out of Saturday, Sunday, with all the creative wins it's going to have. So
Stranger Things could be too.
Stranger Things could be. This Is Us will not be. I mean, they really the only two good shots it has what are Gerald and casting. So anyway, whatever wins casting, I may go with that ultimately for the following week.
Yeah.
And that brings us to our final 3 awards of the night: Breakthrough Performer of the Year, and Ensemble of the Year. I will be presenting Breakthrough Performer. And in that category, you've got 6 nominees. They are Millie Bobby Brown, Brian Tyree Henry, Catherine Langford, Chrissy Metz, Issa Rae, and Phoebe Waller-Bridge. And I just want to clarify that while most of these are very closely associated with one show or another, this is for the year, so it's not connected specifically to one particular program. But regardless, the winner of Breakthrough Performer of the Year is Millie Bobby Brown, and that was not even close.
I love that there's five female, 1 male. I just think that speaks volumes about where TV is.
Yeah, and interesting.
About how some of these people have different projects. Millie really only had Stranger Things, but a ton of talk show appearances. But
that's what I factor in when I vote. I don't. I mean, I know they might have one show, but I think about award shows, talk shows, other appearances that they made throughout the year, and she was just so prevalent, on so many things.
Chris, can't you see her hosting Saturday Night Live? I could totally.
Oh, absolutely. We're going to be there that second week, and that's just before they launch the new season, so it's possible.
Right. The premiere, I think, is Ryan Gosling. So let's tell Lorne Michaels to get her to host. That'd be great.
We've got some theories about who might be that week, but we'll see soon. Okay, Performer of the Year. Once again, these aren't tied to a show. And you'll see in several cases that they had multiple, you'll think about multiple things that each person had. So the Performer of the Year nominees are Riz Ahmed, Alec Baldwin, Carrie Coon, Donald Glover, Nicole Kidman, and Elizabeth Moss. And our 3 men, 3 women. Our Performer of the Year dominated The Leftovers and Fargo, and that is Carrie Coon.
Yeah, and it's actually, and an interesting thing that I wonder, which might have affected other races, is that unlike at the Emmys, we had Millie Bobby Brown in 2 categories. We had Carrie Coon in 3 categories. I wonder if our voters decided, okay, they didn't have to vote for Carrie Coon for drama actress or movie mini actress because they were going to nominate.
But I think Elizabeth Moss took over the summer. Yeah. So remember there for a while, we thought, Carrie Coon was left in that category. We thought for a long time it was, at the Emmys especially, it was going to be Claire Foy, Elizabeth Moss, and then Moss just kind of took over. I think that, I don't know that Carrie Coon being in 2 things would have, knowing that they could vote for her here in Performer of the Year, I don't know that hurt her in drama actress. I think Elizabeth Moss might have won that no matter what.
Maybe a little bit more in movie mini actress, but that Nicole Kidman was much farther ahead than there. I don't think she could have bridged that gap.
Sarah Paulson won this category last year. Remember, she would have had Horror Story and OJ. So I think it does help when you've got 2. Too. What's that?
And her Gold Derby interview too with me.
Yeah, of course.
And Millie Bobby Brown, I think it might have affected her. I think Millie Bobby Brown, it might have affected her more in drama supporting actress than maybe Carrie Coon, because she was it felt like she was such an obvious choice for Breakthrough Performer that I get voters would have been, felt free to kind of go like, oh, I really like Tandy Newton too. So, instead of deciding between them, it ended up going between.
That might have hurt Millie, knowing they were going to vote for her somewhere else. Well, Marcus, you get the last one, the biggest one of the day.
Yes, Ensemble of the Year. It's kind of like what SAG does, but we kind of combine everything.
Comedy, drama, movie, mini, variety, anything.
And as of note, there are no comedies nominated and no varieties nominated, but there are 2 limited series. That's Big Little Lies and Feud, Betty and Joan. And then there's 4 dramas. The Leftovers, Orange is the New Black, Stranger Things, and This Is Us. And the Ensemble of the Year is Big Little Lies.
And
it won the most individually, so that makes, now that you know that, that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah, and the biggest of all of its dominations, this was a little surprising to me because I would think This Is Us is such an ensemble-driven show that I'm surprised it didn't get closer. Stranger Things won Best Drama Series. Leftovers, of course, has such a devoted fan base. Nobody really came close to Big Little Lies in this race, and
Stranger and Orange are your two ensemble winners from this year at SAG.
So in all the categories Big Little Lies won, it was just a dominant force, right? It was never close.
None of them were close.
Laura Dern, Nicole Kidman.
And it won every single category it was nominated for, 5 for 5. So it had 8 nominations, but it only lost to itself. And they were blowout victories.
Well, I'll tell you what, if it wins Best Casting in a Limited Series, I'm switching to Big Little Lies. I have Feud right now. I don't know. It's tough.
Well, thanks, everybody. We didn't mean to take a whole hour, but for those that hung in there or you want to watch it later on, thanks for watching. And you can vote right now for the Creative Arts Emmys. It's a whole separate event than we've never done that before. There's quite a few categories. I don't remember the exact number, but it's not just guest stars. It's a lot. So you got to get in there in the next day or two and vote for those. And then, of course, you can vote for the Emmys. The Oscar Prediction Center is up. SAG Film is up. And a lot of reality shows. So there's plenty to see. Is it CMA Awards, Daniel, that you just finished? So there's a lot of stuff you can predict right now. And
I think 12 events.
Yeah, jump in there. We'll add the Golden Globe film very soon. We'll start working on Globe and SAG TV. And Grammys
I'm working on. They'll be up probably in the next couple of weeks. I don't have a specific timeline on that one just yet, but probably almost definitely before the end of the month, which is when the Grammy eligibility period is.
Well, believe me when I say, when we're out talking to people in the industry keep up with this more than you would ever expect. I've had big name producers, directors. I was at a brunch last year and a director you would know said, I go to Gold Derby like 10 times a day, and what makes the odds change from like morning to afternoon? So I kind of explained it, and they said, well, how do I get better than 100 to 1? So I mean, these people are really paying attention, and so when you make predictions, they count toward all of that. So it's not just winning a contest in a few weeks or a few months. I mean, it makes people pay attention. So jump in there and make your predictions. Thanks for voting on our Gold Derby Awards, and we're going to start sending out those certificates right now.
Okay.